Hi, I'm Nate Flax.
I'm Noah Longworth McGuire.
And this is Talking Lion.
Talking Lion is a podcast focused on artist-to-artist conversations.
We're primarily artists, a duo called Sleeping Lion. And throughout our career as songwriters and producers, we've had the opportunity to work with so many incredible rising artists.
Talking Lion is about hitting record on the conversations we've had with our musical friends and collaborators to get a glimpse into what their life's been like and where it's going.
A few reminders before we start.
Firstly, we now have a Patreon for fans of the show to show their support and help keep the show going.
As a Patreon subscriber, not only will you earn rewards, but you'll also gain exclusive access to a chat room in our Discord server.
Here you can talk with us and even suggest questions for our guests.
Go to patreon.com/talkinglion to subscribe.
We appreciate your support.
As we mentioned, we also have a Discord server that's become a sort of community hub for Sleeping Lion and Talking Lion. We're very active on there and very eager to talk to you about who you are on the show and how you feel about the new episodes, as well as just talking about life.
So yeah, come through and you can talk with us. You can make some new friends, share your art, and share your memes.
Go to sleepinglionmusic.com/discord to join our server.
We hope to see you there.
Lastly, our face is on a shirt. We have shirts now for Talking Lion with our faces on them. If you want to wear us on your shirt, buy a shirt. It helps support the show, and it shows your friends that you like Sleeping Lion and Talking Lion.
You can find these shirts on our website, sleepinglionmusic.com/store. Pro tip. Patreon supporters of the honorary Lion tier or higher will get a free shirt.
Now back to the show.
We recorded this episode with our good friend Julia Gartha.
We both met Julia in college and remained friends through the years, reconnecting back in Los Angeles.
We recorded this a few days after Julia moved back to LA from Toronto. She had just released a song a month ago with lewloh called Terminal.
With a focus on storytelling and her incredible voice, Julia has made some of our favorite songs and has collaborated with some of our favorite people. And with each new song, she proves that she's ready to step out from the background. So,
without further ado,
I'm Julia Gartha, and this is Talking Lion.
well, hey.
Hi.
Hello. Oh yes, you are allowed. You are allowed
Welcome.
Welcome to the talking part.
To the talking part.
Hello. Hello.
Hello now.
I wasn't sure. I was like, should I talk now?
How are you?
I'm good.
I think we've talked about doing this episode for like a minute.
Yes.
But then there was that little like pandemic thing and
Yeah,
I
I blacked out. I don't remember much of it.
Oh yeah. I'm somehow 3 years older and my bones ache.
I aged 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Benjamin Button.
You can't see it now, but I am roughly around the age I should be, and you are exactly 25 years older than me.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
What have you been up to though? What's been new?
Well, I just moved back.
Welcome
LA.
back
So
from
Toronto.
From Toronto, okay.
Because the
Home of Serena P of Bachelor.
Yes, her hometown.
Toronto, where they shoot all the movies.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah, they do
Yeah.
because it looks
Like every city, right?
It looks like New York if you place things strategically.
Right.
So.
But it's like cheaper than shooting in New York,
Much
right?
cheaper because of the dollar.
Yeah.
Lots of background work.
Hey.
Yeah, I moved to LA from Toronto, I think like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
So
Well, yeah, welcome back.
Kind of getting back in
How
the
long were you in
groove.
Toronto?
Right, March 2020.
Oh, okay, right when the
March
pandemic.
20th, 2020.
Holy shit.
Wow.
The Canadian government was saying we encourage all Canadians to come home for a bit because the borders are closing. And I got really freaked out and I was like, maybe I should just go home for a bit. And
I'll be back soon, yeah.
no, literally, I was like, I'll be back. I'll play some board games with my family.
Yeah.
And, everything's closing down anyway. So why not go home? And then I just never came back.
Oh my God, well, welcome
So now I'm
back.
back. Yeah. So
I mean, that's wild. But that's so indicative of all of our experiences. You remember when the first news was like, this could last like 4 weeks. And we're like, that's a long time.
Right.
Like, what? You're telling me I can't leave the house for like 4 weeks?
What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And then when the report came out saying things won't get back to normal till 2022, I remember everyone was like,
No way.
No way.
I was like, no
yeah,
way.
there's like, this is ridiculous.
Crazy.
It was actually on the podcast with Reggie where he was just like, there are people who are saying this could be 2 years. That was the first time I had heard that. I'd heard anyone say that. And I was like sitting here on the podcast, like trying to hold back the existential crisis.
Chaz Cardigan on the podcast was like, yeah, and like when shows come back, that's going to be fucking weird. Like shows aren't going to be back until like late 2021. We're like, wait, no, that can't be right. And
No.
then we
Yeah.
just played our first show, late 2021.
Oh my god. Yeah, I think I'm like, what is it? It's September. It's
Yeah.
October, pretty much.
It's almost
Yeah,
October.
pretty
Yeah.
much.
2021.
Yeah. We really, we really did this. We're really here. That's funny about Toronto, though. My hometown. I'm from like the river towns in Westchester.
Mm.
So like they would wind up shooting a lot of like nondescript, like it would be like the best place to shoot if you were looking for like the suburbs outside of the city.
Yeah.
Because it was the suburbs outside of the city.
It was like cute little town. type
Yeah, so it
vibe.
was like they shot The Leftovers in my town by name too. They were like, "Oh, you're from Dobbs Ferry," like in the show.
Dobbs Ferry.
Yeah, that was the name of my. Okay, what drives me crazy about Dobbs Ferry was that it's called Dobbs Ferry because there was a guy named Dobbs and he had a ferry, but
Incredible.
there's no apostrophe in the name.
I love how just literal that is.
Yeah. Yeah, he literally would just like ferry back and forth like across the Hudson River, and they're like, "Yeah, his name's Dobbs Ferry." Yeah.
Would
Done.
it be Dobbs Ferry, like with the apostrophe after the B, or would it be Dobbs S apostrophe Ferry?
Okay, hold on. We are actually looking this up very, very quickly.
That's like the
Dobbs
cutest town name.
Ferry.
And the way you said it, it does sound British. I never thought of it that way. Dobbs Ferry.
Yes, I'm from Dobbs Ferry.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
It's a quaint little town.
Let's see. It's a village in Westchester County, population of 10,875. So I'm one of them.
That's cutesy.
Or I was one of them. Yeah, it's a very small town.
Yeah.
According to the 2010 census, so I'm in that.
That's almost the population of Miracle in Leftover season 2.
Yeah, there we go. Let's see. Oh, in 2019, its population rose to an estimated 11,000 because I left.
Dang.
It was named after Jeremiah Dobbs, a descendant of William Dobbs, of Swedish and Dutch ancestry,
Okay.
whose family ran a ferry service. But his name was Dobbs
With an S.
with an S.
Okay.
Okay.
So it would be Dobbs Ferry if we were being possessive about it.
Okay, Dobbs
Dobbs
Ferry played a vital
Ferry.
role in the American Revolution.
Oh, sure.
The position of the village opposite the northernmost end of the Palisades gave it importance during the war. The region was repeatedly raided by camp followers of each army. The British Army made Dobbs Ferry a rendezvous after the Battle of White Plains
Mm.
in November 1776, and the Continental Division under General Benjamin Lincoln.
Ah, yes, Benjamin Lincoln, the famous Lincoln.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, George Washington and Rochambeau camped in Dobbs Ferry.
I'm
That's-
like anxious. I feel like
It was probably just a field back then, right?
I don't know how we got here.
Wait. You're from?
I'm from there.
Yeah, you're from
Yeah,
this place.
I'm from there. Yeah.
It'd be really awkward if you weren't.
Yeah. Just a random.
I'd be
You want to
like,
just
yeah,
pick
what?
a random town in the middle of America, and we get the history facts on it.
That's its own
Yeah.
podcast.
Toronto. Well, you guys have a rich history of canoes carrying, right?
Sure. I don't know shit about that.
No,
Portaging.
portaging. Yeah.
Portaging. No,
Yeah.
I went on a 9-day portaging trip.
Did
in,
you?
in ninth
So
grade?
you carried a canoe in ninth grade?
Absolutely. We went to Algonquin Park,
Whoa.
and you have a backpack full of your stuff, and you set out, and then you go through
Out.
you go out and about. You go through the lakes, and then you pick an island, you stay on it, pack up, and then you have to like walk through different islands to get to other lakes, and you have to carry it on your shoulder.
Oh my god.
That sounds really cool, actually.
Is it
I
like-
was
was it-
ripped.
Was it a
I was-
heavy canoe?
Canoes aren't heavy.
I mean, I guess they're kind of like hollowed out.
Some are lighter than others.
Yeah.
Like some are, especially now, like some are made like from this special plastic, and they're really light. But back then, like
So I mean,
they're meant to be carried.
I used to do like regattas
that.
at camp, and that was like a metal canoe, and that was like a bit on the heavier side.
No.
No.
Here, Julia. Here's this metal. No, we had. They're like wooden to some. I don't know. But
Okay, so you portaged.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I camped in Vancouver, like in Squamish,
Oh,
and
nice.
and I was hiking with somebody, and I was just like, they're like, yeah, American history is so like dense, was the way they put it. They're like, you guys had a lot of like things happen, and
You
we
guys
had.
a lot of shit.
And we also love
happen.
writing about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the other thing. Like, Americans love their own history so much.
Oh man, we're obsessed with it.
We're obsessed with it.
Can I tell you about William Dobbs?
Yeah.
Jeremiah Dobbs.
Do you know about this guy
named Jeremiah Dobbs?
Benjamin Lincoln.
Benjamin Lincoln. But yeah, that's they were saying like the history of Canada is the portage and only the portage.
I didn't even know like that. I just thought that's how, if you want to travel with a canoe, you just gotta carry it. You gotta carry it.
Are you still a good canoeer?
Yeah, I'm an excellent canoeer. No, I really am. Like I know what I'm doing.
That's awesome. I mean,
for sure. Cool. I can't like carry it as well because I don't work out.
Do you live near water? Like, are you in the city of Toronto, or did you like grow up at like outside?
So I say to people that aren't from Toronto, I'm from Toronto, but I'm actually from a town called Markham, which is like 40 minutes north of Toronto.
Gotcha.
So I'm a liar. No.
Right.
And it's like a suburb. There's no lakes. You have to like drive out somewhere. Drive north.
Do you know the population according to a 2010 census?
I had a feeling you were gonna ask me that.
Yeah, so you actually studied up
and
before
I have
you came
the
by.
answer. I don't even know what the population is now. I think it's in the GTA, Greater Toronto
Grand
area.
Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto. I think it's like 5 million.
Okay.
But maybe I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong. I don't know.
What was the sort of like music impetus there? Like, what kind of made you get into it growing up?
Well, my dad made me get into music. His mom tried to get him to play piano when he was a kid, and every time that his piano teacher would try to come over to the house, he would like lock all the doors and pretend he wasn't home. Because like my grandma, she worked late because she was a pediatrician. So she would never be home. So he never took piano and he regretted it. So when I was 10, he put me in piano lessons. And then I begged him to quit and he wouldn't let me. And then since then, I started with piano, and then I took voice lessons, and then I did community theater in like my town. And then I just started liking it. Like my parents just put me in those programs just because I feel like they could see that
you were creatively inclined and musically.
Yeah, I mean, for a couple years, like 10 to 13, I really don't know why anyone would think I was musical. I wasn't good at piano. It took me a long time. Like it didn't click in my brain. Like literally until I got to Berkeley, like I couldn't read music.
Well, I know, but
I still can't read.
I mean, I still can't read.
I just didn't get it. But I started to get better at it because I had really good ears. So it's like I couldn't read shit, but I would listen to the song enough where I would figure it out in that way.
Yeah.
Well, and that's I feel like that's kind of the progression of piano playing. I remember, so my grandmother is a phenomenal classical pianist, and she was my teacher growing up. And so she would teach me, but I was not good because I had trouble reading notes, and that did sort of a number on my self-esteem as a piano player, but I would be able to sound things out really, really well. And at the end of the day, like my fingers were sort of going to where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
But also I was like 8 or 9 or 10. And I think that everything is just a bit clunky when you're a kid. Like when you're a kid, your motor skills just are not particularly well developed. And then you hit this thing when you're like 12 or 13 where nothing is hard anymore. Like, I mean, everything is hard still, but like, just like the basics of like I couldn't tie my shoes, even though I knew everything about how to do it. I just couldn't get how to do it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, cool, I can tie my shoes now.
Yeah.
Sick. Like I can do all these things that I didn't, that I knew logically how to do, but my body wouldn't catch up with it.
It was weird too, because it's like I'd go do my piano lessons and I'd like come home just frustrated because I'd sit there being like, I don't know why it's so hard for me to like put 2 and 2 together when I'm with my teacher. And then when I get home, like I'd be really good at like making things up. Like I'd be sitting there just making up little songs. And I'm like, why is that so easy for me? But like, I literally still can't play this piece that we've been learning for like 3 months.
I think it's a different part of the brain. Also.
Definitely.
Like, I think it's a completely different skill. I think that there's something, I think a lot of us get into this because we have that very intuitive feeling if we just like to sort of paint with colors and like play stuff on the piano, but actually like learning music that someone else has written is a more athletic skill.
Totally.
That's the reason we get put through these like rigorous, very specific.
I mean, it's the difference between writing and acting. Like, there's a reason why like writers aren't necessarily good actors and vice versa.
Yeah,
totally.
But I do remember like my dad is a great like he plays in bands as a keyboardist, and I think that for a while he sort of regretted cutting corners on his music education, so he didn't like get in the way of like my grandmother teaching me classical. But then one time when I was like 12 or 13, he would be like, okay, we're going to sit down. I'm going to play some chords. Don't hit these notes, hit these notes. You know, like don't hit any of the black keys like we're playing in C major. And all of a sudden I was like doing solos and it was awesome. And I felt like I could play the piano. And that was like a game changer. So yeah, we don't necessarily know how to read notes or like whatever, but there's not a single piece of music that we can't necessarily like learn
Figure out.
like
Yeah.
you know from figuring it out.
Yeah.
Did you play like open mics and stuff when you were not in Toronto?
In Markham.
When
There's none of that
outside
there.
of Toronto. Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. Like, I still don't feel like I really fully immersed myself in the Toronto music scene. It took me a really long time to like call myself a singer or be like, yeah, I write songs. Like it,
Right.
I really just, looking back, if I think about it, like I tried to like skate by and try to slide into situations without really like declaring myself as something, because I was afraid that if I said I was a singer or a songwriter and people didn't think I was good, they'd be like, that girl's delusional.
I mean, you're preaching to the choir.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
if I think about it, so it's like in high school, I did community theater. I was in the choir, and it'd always be a thing where people will be like, you got a really good voice. Like, why aren't you out here more trying to get better roles? Or like, why aren't you the lead in this? I don't know why. And I was like, I don't know. And then I think in high school, I started to write a little bit. And then
Was it always like folk influence? Because a lot of your stuff, I mean, your pop sensibility is amazing, but what I really like I immediately connected to is that there is so much like patience and like folk, sometimes even a little country like influence in your stuff. Was that where you first started writing, or were you like us, where it was like rock bands from the jump?
I wish I was in a rock band so bad, like when I was in high school. But no, I listened to a lot of Joni Mitchell.
Oh, okay, yeah, that'll do it. That tracks completely.
And we're done.
Say no more.
We
Joni
figured it out,
Mitchell,
folks.
Paul Simon.
Right.
Yeah.
My mom is a huge Fleetwood Mac fan. We've
Yeah.
seen them in concert. So I think that world was introduced to me young as a kid. And then I think it was always like, I knew how to sing. I knew how to play piano well enough to start to use it as a tool to write. And then it was just like piano voice, intimate storytelling. That's what really like got me excited when I started to think about maybe wanting to make music for myself. But yeah, I don't know. And then after high school, I knew that I wanted to go to Berkeley, but I didn't have the money / I still wasn't ready. I still was like, am I a musician? Do I want to like go into this? So then I graduated in 2013 from high school, and I took 2 years off to like work and really start to think about, okay, what type of music would I want to do the open mic thing. So then I went to Berkeley in 2015. So I took those 2 years to kind of like figure some shit out.
But you graduated high school in 2013.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I started
Okay.
Berkeley in 2015.
Because we started in 2014.
2014,
So we
yeah.
were, I think we were like a year before you, or
Yeah.
a couple semesters, whatever. But that's really cool. Like I feel like I didn't really know Berkeley existed. One of the things that was so striking to me when I got there was like everybody was like, I did 5 week. I wanted to be here. Like for me is like I wanted to go to film school, and I got rejected from film school, and down the street was a music school. And I'm like, okay, cool. I can like apply for Emerson, and then while I'm at it, like play piano for these guys.
Who are you guys?
And it wound up being like the best decision, ever. But yeah, so I'm always very impressed by like people who like put in that work. And when I got to Berkeley, it occurred to me, okay, you got to find what you're good at and like really hone that in. Like I knew I wasn't going to be like a session piano player.
Yeah.
I knew that like really at that time, the only thing I had going for me was talking to people and just like getting things sort of moving and together. So that's like how like Mied and I wound up like doing the tour and wound up like collaborating on stuff, and how we wound up meeting and eventually kind of realizing like that pop music was the thing. But none of it was like, oh yes, I'm a great musician. Let's go to Berkeley and become a better piano player. Like
I think the frustrating thing for me is that Berkeley did make me want to get better, almost to the point where it's like by the end of Berkeley, I was like, can I just go back and do it again? Because now I feel like I could do it right. Like now I feel like I know enough. Like
that right there exactly.
Like Berkeley, by the end of 4 years, I was like, okay, now I feel like now I feel like I actually know how to get the most out of this place, and now I'm done. And now I just have to go out into the world.
I wish I knew harmony when I was 13. If I knew like all the stupid harmony things or like all the stupid production stuff that I learned at Berkeley at 13, then we'd be stupid stuff.
Yeah, I had this thing where it's like at around 15, I decided I wanted to be a music producer. I looked it up; it seemed cool. But I had no idea. I saw this thing on Wikipedia that was essentially like, because at first I was like, oh, like his music production is very technical, and then I read this analogy that was like, it's actually less like being an engineer is like being a cameraman, being a producer is like being a director. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. That it's a lot more creative, but I still didn't have the technical stuff down, and I tried to learn it by myself in high school, but also kind of was like, I'm just going to learn that later because they'll teach it to me in college. And that's the one thing that I wish I could go back and slap myself a little bit and be they actually don't really teach it to you in college. Most of the stuff you learn that made you a good professional in this industry, you learned by yourself. And you could have started 2 to 3 years earlier.
For what it's worth, that's a big reason why we started the podcast. It's a big reason why we'll do classes or be really transparent about how we make stuff, because I see the more that we sort of mystify and like gatekeep information about like how the industry works and how to produce and all that stuff, or like say, oh, well, you can't produce if you're using GarageBand when you absolutely can. Or like you can't produce if you don't have this like $500 compressor plugin or whatever. Like the more that we or you can't be a good songwriter if you didn't go to Berkeley or whatever. Like the more that we do that, the more that we make it like the more we make it rich fuckers who are the only ones who are able to, you know, like I'm just so tired of being like, oh yeah, and that producer like came from money. And it's like, of course they did, because they were told that the only way you could become a producer and have the tools and the education was by affording it. And, and we're like, no, you could be broke as shit and a phenomenal producer.
Yeah.
You know, that's just where we're at.
Yeah. You just like, I don't know. The older I get and the having gone through Berkeley and then trying to be a sponge and soak up as much information, and you try to listen to people, you realize people that are giving out information or advice, it's like you need to take it with a grain of salt, because it's like, just do what works for you.
Yeah.
And listen, but also like don't listen to people who say like, oh, you can't produce on GarageBand, or I don't know. That's just stupid.
I don't like, I'm not here for the DAW wars. Like I'll joke around with Noah from time to time, like because I edit the podcast in Pro Tools or whatever. Like I'll be like, audio editing in another DAW, like, but I don't care. Like whatever does it. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But the more that we put value on things that are like barrier for entries, like the more that we make a price for the barrier of entry, the more we lose people who might have been really, really talented, but just didn't necessarily come from means, which is just like, you know.
And I feel like nowadays it's like, it's beneficial to know how to do as much as you can. Like you should, if you want to get into music, it's like you should be able to write a little, produce a little, track your own shit. Like, I don't know, like if you realize you have those gaps in yourself, like the labels, that's what tripped me up for a long time. Like I was afraid to call myself a songwriter, because I was like, well, if I really was a songwriter, like, well, I haven't written a song in like a month, so I'm not really a songwriter.
No, exactly.
Because if I really was, you know, I'd be writing every day, but maybe I don't love it. Like I didn't major in songwriting because I was like,
I didn't either. Yeah,
maybe I don't think I'd, you know, I don't know. And I majored in fucking CWP, which was good. Looking back, it was good, but it's not really what I wanted to do.
Well, and I think ultimately, like, I disagreed so much with things in the songwriting department, because there's nothing you can't prescribe things.
Prescriptive songwriting is very difficult. Yeah. Songwriting is a very difficult thing to teach.
Yeah.
I feel, as a education minded person, I feel for how it is kind of an impossible task to teach songwriting. Like, because it is the kind of thing where you just have to be like, well, in creating a syllabus for songwriting, like you have to get prescriptive about it. And as soon as you lay down a rule set, well, this is a way you can write. I think when you put down something and saying like, this is the way to write, that excludes other ways of writing. I think the best way to go about it is to present options and say, well, this is a way you can write, instead of, oh, this is a way you should write.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In the last year, I really have started looking at myself differently. Like I used to say, oh, I'm not a producer. You put me in front of, I wouldn't know what to do. And it's like, that's such I would know what to do.
Yeah.
Women fucking figure it out. And I feel like I can speak for a lot of women that write songs and maybe can make shitty demos, but like, oh, I can only make a shitty. It's like, if you put the time in, if you are able to write a song and have a vision for it, it's like you can start to hear shit. And I feel like the last year being stuck in my parents' basement, I created a whole setup, and I really just, I feel like, have gotten better at just being able to execute what's in my head into Logic. And it's like, all it took was time. And like you were saying before, it's like no distractions, no one around, no one to fucking put their 2 cents in. And I don't know, I just feel like I wish it didn't take me as long to like have that confidence. And I wish the circumstance didn't have to be like global pandemic. you have to be in your basement and to learn all this stuff. And I feel like, I don't know, so many more women, I feel like, need that mentorship from male collaborators.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say like people gatekeep that information, but I think guys in the industry need to realize it's like you got to be part of their foundation. I feel like you have to like, if you work with a woman that you respect and you know, it's like, hey, you should try this, or encourage them, or like push them to do stuff. It's like, I can say like I work quite frequently with Ariza, and full credit to him. Like, he has been such an amazing mentor to me. Every time we do a session, I show him a song, and I'd always preface it with being like, don't judge the demo, it's crap. And he's like, stop. Like, it's actually not. Like, I hear what you're trying to do. Next time, work on this. Oh, you should try this. And then every time we do a session, I can even see I get better and better and better. And it's just like, more guys need to be like that. You either like dominating it and you want to gatekeep, or if you don't, it's like all it takes is just like encouragement. And just because coming from someone where I literally was like, I could never. Oh, I'm not a producer. It's like, yeah, I can actually. Yeah. And I'm getting a little better at it.
Well, and what I love that you mentioned, and I was literally going to say it, of all people, I think Juan Ariza does such a great job of empowering folks to realize that anybody can be a producer.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that like Abigail Barlow or Miette Hope or you like are all like close collaborators with him and have all gone to be great collaborators and great producers and have great ideas. Like, we say on the show a lot that it's just what you were saying, that if you have a good idea of what your song is, that's what makes you a producer. If you can work in Logic, great, but that's not the bar.
I never thought of it.
The bar is
until
just,
he pointed it out.
I'm not. It was one of the things in our relationship too, because I'm not particularly good or fast in Logic when it comes to producing, but I know what the song needs always.
Yeah.
And so we collaborate, and I consider myself a producer in our collaboration. But I don't necessarily touch the DAW. I'm thinking broad strokes, or reference notes, or bringing in instrumentalists and stuff like that, and all of that is what makes you a producer. Hell, in film, you're a producer if you fund the film.
Right.
So
like, being a producer is just making the thing happen. However,
so if you're hiring a producer, you're a producer.
I used to think, and I still have to catch myself when I start to put these limits, but I used to think it's like, okay, I can only call myself a songwriter. Okay, I can call myself a songwriter if I get my first cut, or I can call myself a producer once I reach this level, or I have these many fucking sounds, or because my sounds suck. It's like, no, it's a work in progress. I feel like, and I'm not like great at it, but I'm getting better. And I think more people need to, I don't know.
If you write songs and you're a songwriter, if you're a producer, then what I love about the analogy you just said was, if a director doesn't go behind the camera, that doesn't make them any less of a director.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that that's like the big piece, is that we're thinking, oh, okay, so the director needs to know how to use the camera, and if the director can't use the camera, they're not the director. No, just that's not how it works. Like, if you're giving feedback on your song, if you're putting together, even if you have like a little voice memo, but like you're like imagining the drums over it or whatever, you're a fucking producer. And I just think that like the more that we empower people to like doesn't matter what your tools are, doesn't matter what your background is, doesn't matter
Nothing's
your gender.
deep. Nothing matters. Nobody cares. Nobody fucking cares.
Yeah.
No one cares except you. That's the thing too. It's like no one cares.
It matters if it's good. And honestly, what's tricky about like having all these barriers for entry is that if you take 3 or 4 years thinking you need to hit this barrier, you're wasting time being bad.
Yeah.
Because you need to be bad first.
Exactly. Thank you. I don't know who said it. I think it was, I might be really wrong, but I think Pink, she's like, dare to suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. God forbid you suck. One day you go to a session and you're actual trash. Haha, it's funny. Move on. Whatever. Because you have to suck to get...
and it sucks because it's these two things that are unfortunately happening at the same time, but are actually completely unrelated. The first being that you are a producer when you are working on things. The other being that you need to suck first to get to hone your craft and get better. The problem is that when you start and you suck, you think that you're not good enough to be a producer.
Yeah.
Whereas like those two things are unrelated. Like you have started your production journey, and that is one thing, and you are starting your getting better at things journey, and that's another thing. And you can hone those two things in parallel, but one does not necessarily mean you can't like do the other.
No, exactly.
You know, but that's probably a big part of our hesitations. Like I thought that I couldn't make. I quit music. I did film for a while because I'm like, well, I can't make good things and I don't have money. And I can't pay for somebody to make it better. So I just didn't touch it, as opposed to like if I sat down and tried to get better at the craft.
That's the other thing. The thought of like, well, I don't have any money, so I guess I can't put music out. It's like, and then people would be like, you should just do it yourself. And I'm like, I hate you saying that because I can't. But it's like, I could have. And now I'm learning, you can't. You just need to want to.
Yeah.
And that's a big one. If like, do you actually want to learn how to do this shit and suck and spend 6 months like laying the groundwork? Or because you could just do it yourself.
Well, and ultimately the thing that you can't get around is if you don't have advantages, by definition, it is harder.
Absolutely.
And I don't think that means that it's not worth doing. But it's also like if you see somebody doing really, really well and they don't have to like worry about rent, that's not an insignificant barrier. You know, like if you're working 2 part-time jobs to cover your rent and you're wondering why your music doesn't like have the same marketing push or the same, like it's taking you a couple more months to finish the project. It's because somebody else doesn't need to work the 2 part-time jobs and can save that money, like save the money that they're not spending on rent on their marketing budget. So it's like, having advantages is just going to be easier, but that doesn't mean it's not worth doing.
Yeah, I feel like with social media, like it's like you can see other people doing great things.
Yeah.
And I think you have to remember it's like your situation is unique to yourself and they have their own stuff going on, and like everyone has their own timeline.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's tough because a lot of the stuff you see on social media and also just in our pop culture is people who have kind of not reached their final form, but who have reached a complete form of artistry. Like at least when you're looking at artists, and I feel like when you're still developing as an artist, you can't compare. It's like that whole butterfly cocoon thing. Like you can't compare a partially formed thing to a fully formed thing. Like it's like apples and oranges. Like it's like there's so much development that we never get to see in culture.
You just got to keep your head down and just do your thing, honestly.
Shifting gears, I do have to ask you about a very important moment in television history.
What?
You were in Schitt's Creek for 3 seconds.
You were in Schitt's Creek.
And we need to. I think we need to. To talk about.
Yeah, you know what? I just stopped signing autographs. So I just hope that's okay.
We got the last autograph and we're auctioning it.
You could sell that for
Yeah.
Yeah, my giant head. I don't know what. Like just the worst shot ever. And my face says it all. It was like the worst day on set too. Like no shade to the.
It was like the last, like one of the last episodes, though, right? It was like
they
last
were not
season.
Nice. It was the worst day ever. It was a 16-hour day
to
to shoot that stupid motel scene. Watching it back, it was kind of funny, but shooting it, I'm just like, what the fuck's going on? And then it was like, I show up, I had to drive 3 hours outside of town, and like they shot it in this place called Hamilton.
They shot it in Schitt's Creek.
Literally, it's like not a nice place. And we show up to set, and they're like, yeah, so we don't have like a holding area. So, and every extra that they hired came on the, every extra they hired needed to drive their own car there because they wanted extras with their own cars for like a driving shot or something. So they're like, yeah, we don't have chairs and we don't have a holding room. You guys can just sit in your cars and we'll call you when we're ready. And I'm like, okay, it's 6 a.m. I can sit in my car and take a nap. And it's like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning. It's fucking hot outside. I'm like, what? Like we don't have chairs. We're just sitting in our cars waiting to be called to set. It was the worst.
We were literally like, we were watching it, and it's literally just like blink if you miss it. And I just happened not to blink. Like we're watching it, and I went, hold on, like pause, zoom, enhance, like. And I texted you, I'm like, were you in Schitt's Creek?
For about a 6-month period, every DM I got was were you in Schitt's Creek? Is this you?
You literally shot back like in all caps.
I wouldn't even have
like,
to open the DM, and I'm like, I know it's gonna be about Schitt's Creek.
Right.
I think you did like text back like all caps, like fuck.
Yeah. There's been a couple moments like that. Like not to be like, yeah, I've appeared in a couple, but those 2 years that I took between high school and Berkeley, all I did was music, and then I do extra work. That's how I literally paid for Berkeley, low key.
Wow.
Because I'm in the union, and
right.
I think it's called AFTRA,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's called ACTRA.
Gotcha.
And you make good money. So I did Schitt's
Because if you're
Creek.
doing 16 hours, I mean, something like that, that's like time plus overtime.
Yeah,
so
you
get
make
like
a
almost
lot.
double.
And if you do a couple, days a week of doing that, you make a lot of money. Yeah, I would do Berkeley. I would do fall semester, spring semester, go home, work the whole summer doing extra work, and that's how I'd pay for college. But yeah, people have done. They messaged me being like, "Are you in Schitt's Creek? My Big Fat Greek Wedding too.
Nice.
I'm in that. I have 3 lines.
Whoa!
And so
you had a speaking part.
I had a speaking part.
Wow!
Yeah.
Wait, what? Can you hit us with the lines?
I forget. I had to have a what is it? An accent? A Chicago accent?
A Chicago accent?
Because it was set Chicago, and I was like, the character, this guy named Clifford, he like asked me to prom, and I had to be like, yes, Clifford, I'll go to prom with you. And I had to do like a session with a dialect coach, being like, it's not prom, it's prom.
Prom. You're like grocery store Joe.
Yeah, when he talks, I'm like, okay, you're from Chicago.
I'm surprised that the line wasn't like, yes, I'd love to go to your big fat Greek wedding too.
Yeah, it was fun.
You have the line.
I got to meet all the people. It was fun.
Did you meet Levy? Eugene Levy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He was funny.
Yeah.
In between takes, like he was joking with us, and I was like, okay, like yeah, today's shitty, but I did get to talk with Eugene.
That's
That
cool.
it was fun.
Yeah, that's
and
fun.
that character, Roland Schitt,
Oh,
whatever,
yeah.
he was there, and he was funny. Like they were trying to make it a good time for us because they knew that we were like
Having a tough
waiting
one.
all day
Yeah.
in our cars in the hot sun, but.
Being on set scares the shit out of me. I think one of the reasons I'm in like audio post production was because the one time I did, like I helped out a little bit with a sound mixer for like an overnight shoot in New York.
Yeah.
And I was terrified. I was because an extra got kicked out at like 2 a.m. for looking at Rebel Wilson the wrong way. And
No, that's a real thing.
yeah,
Like,
so I was just
catch
like
someone on the wrong day, or my biggest fear was like, because a lot of people, I never brought my phone to set. They keep the extras in like a holding area, and then they're like, okay, everybody, like we're on in 2, like leave all your phones here, we're going to set. And of course, most of the extras would be like, I'm not fucking leaving my phone here. We're gonna be stuck on set for hours. And like, I want my phone, but I'd never bring it because I'm just like, if your phone goes off, it's like all eyes on you. You ruin a shot, like you're never working again.
yeah.
And then everyone's like booing you, like so. Yeah, it's scary.
Well, and that's the thing is like in post production, like I'm in my pajamas, like I'm on my time. When you're on set, it's fucking like
It's brutal.
Like, especially if it's like a closed set.
Yeah.
You know, you are what was once a safe place is now the reverse shot and is no longer a safe place. And you need to run to the other side.
I know. Continuity. Make sure your hair's... I've gotten yelled at so many times because like I play with my hair and then the hair and makeup people are like, your hair is parted the other way. You have to make sure. And I'm like, oh my God. Like I'm in the fuck. Like, you can't even see me. But yeah, everything is just...
Have you done or have you thought about doing background acting out here?
I've thought about it. The money is good, but when you show up to set, I want to die. Like it's just, the money's good, but I just hate it so much. So, and I don't even know if I could actually on my visa.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not going to do it. I will not be doing that. Wink, wink.
Government.
No, but I actually won't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Put your hands up. We got you surrounded.
Oh my God.
Pausing the podcast to shout out our sponsor, New Wave.
No, I've been drinking coffee my entire life.
You know, as a Roman, same.
As a New Yorker, absolutely.
It's our birthright.
It's our birthright. We came out of the womb drinking coffee.
Fully caffeinated.
And the thing is that we're not getting any younger.
That's true.
And we're not getting any less anxious.
Oh, man, that's true too.
I'll say I have loved coffee my whole life, but lately it hasn't really been agreeing with me.
How so?
Unfortunately, when I drink coffee now, I just start feeling very agitated, very anxious. And I've been looking around for alternatives that don't make my heart just beat out of my chest while I'm in the middle of working. And that's how we stumbled upon New Wave. New Wave's Flow State Coffee is an organic ground coffee meant to lower anxiety, improve brain function, and support creativity. With L-theanine and raw cacao, Flow State Coffee is meant to feel like a cup of hot chocolate or tea while giving the energy of coffee.
And now, through Talking Lion, you can try a couple cups of your own.
If you go to their website, newwave.co, that's N-O-O wave.co, you can use the code BrewingLion for 10% off your first order. We hope you get a creative boost and find your flow state.
Now, back to the show.
You remember how we met, like at Berkeley? Do you like? I was trying to think about it. I maybe remember what our first it was one of those things about Berkeley where you never remember meeting somebody. You just now know them for the rest of your life.
There's a handful of people where I'm like, I remember when I met you because it was like we were either drunk or there was a weird interaction, but I don't remember when we met or how. I just was like, oh yeah, I know you and you know me. I remember like my cousin telling me that she saw you at a wedding or something. Do you remember that? Am I tripping?
No,
but that's not when we met.
No,
she just was like, oh, do you know Nate? And I was like, yeah, how do you know my Nate? Like, I don't know.
She's one of my aunt's like best friends.
Yeah. Small world.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
I remember having a conversation with you in the calf. I think that was like probably the first. The calf, yeah. Because I knew of you. I think a lot of people were like, when you first came to school, people talked about you because you were an amazing vocalist.
People talked about you because you're
the worst. Yeah. No,
That's sweet.
I'm trying to remember the context, but
I remember you came up to me because I don't know if you knew or I don't know if you had ever heard my music before, and you were like, I heard your song with Nate Daviau, and you were like, I want to tell you that.
Oh, that would have been late. I think I was in LA when the song with Nate came out.
Yes.
It had to have been like 2 a.m. on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Because it was like 11 o'clock. I was driving home. The song came out, and it was on my playlist to listen to, and I heard it, and I like just started like it was so good. I just started crying, and I literally called you. I've done this multiple times actually with your songs. I do this in general, but I have disproportionately done it with you. Where after the song is over, I will literally just call you and be like, "This is stupid good." Like
I love that.
I did that with Nothing's More Lonely. I was actually driving around Boston.
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like stuck in traffic.
That was like a year ago. I think.
Yeah, and I was just like, "Hey, this is very, very good."
I love like that. The spontaneous. Like, I just want to let you know. Like that really like made my heart feel so good. It made me feel good. Because at that time I was like in my parents' basement, put this song out, like life's not moving. So it's like just the little things, like you calling and being like, this fucking hit me. You know, I was like, oh, okay, good. You know,
well, I think that like
good, you cried. No,
yeah. No, I mean, but that's why we make it. I think that in a lot of ways, like we, you know, it's such a cynical industry, and putting out music takes so much out of you. And I think we're always so cautious with expressing ourselves in like how we feel about other people's stuff, because on the one hand, you don't necessarily want to come off as vulnerable because that's like weird, you know, quote unquote. But also sometimes like everything kind of comes with an angle. Like, so I think that like whenever I hear something that I really like and I've resolved that I want nothing out of the you know, collaboration or out of the whatever, if I like something, I'm calling and I'm saying I like it, and it's free. It's free.
No
it's
agenda.
Free of charge.
Yeah.
No charge.
No charge.
No charge.
For you, it's on the house.
I love that.
Tell me about Can't Change You.
There's nothing I can do to make these gray skies blue, or make this house feel like our home. There's nothing I can say to make this feel okay. Yeah, there's some things I can't change, and one of them is you.
Again, we were friends and at school, and like I had heard that you had a great voice, but really the first time I heard your music was that song, and it blew my mind. Partially because it's just beautiful and great, and I love how your harmonies blend and all that, but also partially because at that point, I mean, maybe it was 2018 or 20,
2018. Dang.
You know, so many people were doing just like the straight down the middle pop stuff. It was so refreshing to hear like a good folk song, like the stuff that like we grew up listening to, you know?
Totally.
So yeah, tell me about writing that with the other Nate.
With the other Nate.
Nate Daviavi.
Daviau. Nate. Yeah, so Nate and I, both from Toronto, and we, through mutual friends, I think people were just like, you guys should like get together and like start writing music. You both feel like would vibe well. And so we started hanging out and writing songs, and then we started this like little duo called Big Little Banter during Berkeley, and we do like gigs around, and I don't know, working with Nate, he's such a good storyteller. Like I feel like at the time my lyrical game was not great, and I feel like I was like a better melody writer. He's like total storyteller. So I feel like, yeah, we just sat down one day and just like it just poured out. I think we wrote it in Toronto, and then we recorded it in Toronto at a studio called Union Sound. And in terms of it being like folky, I don't know, we just talked about production, and we were just like, it just needs to feel really raw and intimate. And it feels weird to think about it, because that was like the first song I'd ever written, recorded, put out. And before that, it gave me such anxiety to think about like, putting music out, you know, what sound am I going for? It's like, it doesn't really matter. It's like, it was a good song, and I don't know.
Well, one of the things that I almost remember, like when I sent it to Noah, was just saying how everything worked. Like just like the little piano line with your voice is singing over it. And just the way that your harmonies build, like in the chorus. I mean, just every little piece of that song just like worked so well and did everything that it was supposed to. Like we talk about songs a lot on the show about what the songs sort of ask for, and what so much of our job is in seeing the sort of disconnect between what we hear and what could have been. And I think that like if I sat with that song, there was nothing my brain just like there was nothing that like everything was in its place, like everything was doing what it was supposed to in the song, and that I just thought was really, really impressive for like a first song that came out.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm proud of it. Sometimes I'm just like in terms of where I'm at now with my writing and putting music out, I feel like I don't put as much pressure in terms of like, oh my God, like what is, I just feel like if I want to put out a song, I put it out. And in terms of like the folkiness, I've maybe moved away from that, but I don't know.
Well, you still have your sensibility though. Like, you know, there are definitely, take a song like Serendipity.
What if we chase it? I know we'll make it there. We can go places. We can go places where...
Yeah.
Like there, you know, there is obviously more like electronic elements in that, but there's still
like intimate
and the harmonies and well, I mean, you want to talk about that song? Like that
Sure.
song had, you know, had
I don't know
little...
what's going on with that song. Like we're almost at 3 million streams now, and and we just hit 2 mil in March. It was 2.9.
Like
I don't know.
I checked this morning.
Me and Lou are both like, what the fuck?
How did you and Lou meet?
See, this is another one. I'm like, fuck, where did we meet? I think I saw him perform. He was in his first semester, and I saw him perform.
Oh, so he was Berkeley.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh whoa. I sounded. Oh yeah.
Oh sure, yeah,
for sure.
Oh,
for
definitely.
sure.
Oh, you betcha.
Oh,
you
betcha. Don't you know? Yeah, he
Saskatchewan.
He was at like an open mic in, what was it called? David Friend or something.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember sitting there being like, dang, like this new kid, first semester, he just got here like 10 days ago. He's like really fucking good. And then I don't know if he messaged me or I messaged him, but I was like, we should hang out and get food, and I want to like know more about you, and you seem fun. And then we hung out, and then we were like, we should write. And then we first session we wrote Serendipity.
Oh wow.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Serendipitously.
Serendipitously. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. I Lou, if you're hearing this, didn't know you at Berkeley, unless we did, in which case I'm sorry. as I previously stated, I don't remember anything. But yeah, you guys are both. What's actually really lovely. We were listening. Like his tone and your tone are like so similar, but like on different sort of formant spectrums and pitch spectrums. Like it's really cool.
We worked really hard on like blending
Yeah.
together. I think he just dropped his new album at the end of August.
Missing
Him, Michigan Missing Him, sorry.
Yeah.
And he featured me on a track on that album too, because he was just like, okay, I know this song. I didn't even write the song.
Terminal, right?
Yeah, Terminal.
Yeah.
Him and this fabulous writer, Gabby Gotts, they wrote it together. But he's like, okay, I really want this to be like a female duet. And he's just like, but the voices just go together. So yeah, he had me on that, which was nice. But yeah.
I think what I appreciate about your project is that it is so collaborative. Like you are finding these people who you can do multiple songs with, or who you have had projects with and stuff. Like Juan, of course, being Ariza, being another podcast alumni.
Right.
Juan
Yes.
Ariza. I want to know how you guys first came to collaborate, and I want to know about the process for Nothing's More Lonely, because that song's gorgeous.
Go ahead and hurt me. Go ahead, I'd like to see you try. Nothing's more lonely than having you by my side.
I had known about him and his production for a while. Like I remember even being at Berkeley, him and Christine Noel came out with this song. Half of me wants you, half of me. I think it's called Half of Me. I remember listening to it and I was like, what the fuck? Like I wanna work with him. And then when I was in LA, when was it? January 2020, a mutual friend had introduced us, and I went over to his house and showed him some demos, and we met and we just like chilled, and he was super sweet, showed him some demos, he liked it, and then he was like, we should do a session. And I was like, absolutely, I would love to, you know. And then yeah, we've just like, yeah, Nothing's More Lonely, we worked on that. We have a couple more actually coming out soon, knock on wood, which I'm excited about.
Heck yeah.
We worked on this one called Hate You for Leaving, which came out in
Oh yeah, I mean that's got
April.
Hate You for Leaving is crazy. It's got the little vocal chop thing.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, that one I showed to him and I was like, I don't know what we want to do with this or what it is, but I'm not sure. And he was like, we have to put this out. And I made like a really rough demo of it and he just like took it to a whole other level. And I'm really proud of that one now.
I like that your writing style, especially in those songs, are very storytelling. Like almost like you're writing from somebody's perspective, like in that it wasn't necessarily like your experience, but as sort of putting yourself in the place of an experience.
Yeah, totally.
What kind of gets you in that? Like what inspires that kind of writing as opposed to, writing about Toronto or or about canoes?
Oh, the normal subjects of
Right.
my
Yeah.
songs. Well, I think this is gonna sound really annoying, but I used to think that you had to. When I was younger, I used to think you had to write always from a honest place, meaning like if you weren't going through it, then it's like
Place of pain.
yeah, like then it's not really authentic or not real. And I've been pretty happy the last couple years, so it's like finding deep dark places to write from for a while was like hard. And then I just thought, about okay, what if I like to read, and so I think of putting myself in other people's shoes. And then that's how I wrote. When I did my Berkeley video for this song Comfortable Being Used, I like wrote it from the perspective of like a woman who wants to leave a relationship or abusive relationship, and then people were messaging me being like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, it's not, this isn't from a me standpoint. I just like thought of what that would be like. I don't know.
Well,
I like
we
doing that.
always say on the show, like the purpose for writing is so that people don't feel alone in their experiences.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that those experiences need to be exclusive to the person who writes them.
No. And a lot of times it's like the initial pain or discomfort comes from me.
Yeah.
But then it's like sometimes it just turns into something else. And then it's like it doesn't have to always be super, super accurate to exactly what you're feeling. A lot of times it's like, yeah, shit that you're feeling will obviously hit. But yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Hate You for Leaving in that one just kind of came out.
I think it's like a projection tug of war, like especially if you're writing for somebody else too. Obviously the words that you're writing are based on their experiences, not your own.
Yeah.
Though sometimes maybe you've got a lot going on in your life and it bleeds into the song you're writing
Absolutely.
with somebody else,
Absolutely.
Pausing the podcast to remind you that we have a Patreon that you can subscribe to if you want to support the show.
If you're enjoying this episode, but you're thinking that you've got a burning question for an artist, or you just want to talk with us, or maybe you just want to mug with our faces, our Patreon's the way to go.
So go to patreon.com/talkinglion to subscribe.
Now back to the show. Julia Gartha, are you ready for the question round?
The question round.
Yes, I am.
Nice. Very nice.
ASMR. Yeah.
The question round.
The question round.
You guys should do a whole interview with Jesse.
I can't do that. You've heard me talk. Could you imagine?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so the first question is the random question.
Mm-hmm.
How would you like to spend your elder years?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I should go into it or just
Go into it.
on a beach. Yeah, I want to be in the sun on a beach.
Which beach?
I don't know.
American beach?
I've never thought about
Grecian
that.
beach?
I've never thought farther ahead than 5 years.
What's beach in Italian?
Spiaggia.
Bitch?
A spiaggia?
A what?
Spiaggia.
One more time.
Spiaggia.
Spiaggia.
Yeah. Do you want like Malibu or a spiaggia?
I don't know. Maybe Malibu. This is a terrible answer. I
No, I
actually
think
don't
it's-
know.
No, I think that is my mom's answer.
My whole life I'm happiest by water.
Yeah.
Okay.
So even lakes. Like I would love to have it's changing. Maybe a cottage in Muskoka. You know where Muskoka
Where's
is?
Muskoka?
No.
So Muskoka is a town about an hour and a half north of Toronto, and it's like very rich, fancy cottage country place. Like a lot of celebrities will have their like
Ooh.
cottages there.
Okay.
Interesting.
And the lake is just so beautiful. So maybe cottage in Muskoka.
What
Spend my time
what
there.
about you?
How do I want to? What's the question?
How do you want to spend your elder
How do I want to
years?
spend my elder years?
Vajayja. No, sorry.
Vajayja.
Vajayja. How do I want to spend my elder years? I think I just want to. I want to spend my elder years like learning all the random stuff that I feel like is useless to me now. Like I want to get really into Roman history. Like I want to know a lot about geography. Like I want to know I want to be one of those people who read scientific papers on like quantum physics, because I always have been kind of that person. But right now it's just like, who's got the time? Like I'm trying to make money. I'm trying to make money and make music right now.
So when you have that free time,
when I have that free time, when I'm retired, I want to just like get really good at cooking and read a bunch of books.
Okay.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, where?
Where? That's a really good question. Ideally, multiple places. You know what I mean? Like ideally,
okay.
just
Like
I'm gonna go to my house here for
I'm
the
gonna go
weekend.
to my house here,
and then next month I'm gonna go to my other house.
Yeah, I'll be in Venice for 3 months, and then be in London for a little bit, and then be in LA just to like catch up with old friends and play poker with my old buddies.
I'm thinking on. you better believe I'm still gonna have a table at 60.
I would bet on very few things as hard as I would bet on that.
Go. I love that.
I'm counting on high speed rail to exist in our lifetimes. We just like get to New York and LA in like an hour.
Yeah,
you know, that would be so nice. No, I have a really. I really want to live kind of like in the mountains or like in the woods, sort of based on like any kind of interactions that we need, like, you know, that travels easier in the future and communications easier in the future and all that stuff. Like my grandparents live in the middle of Colorado, like with a view of the mountains, and it's gorgeous. I think I would want to be a little bit more close to trees, not so much open space, but more like that you have like a vista, like a nice view, but like trees next to you. My friend just posted a photo from like Oregon, and it's like so beautiful over there. So maybe something like Oregon, or because that's the thing. It's like I think I want to raise like, you know, a kid in New York or LA or like whatever. But I think that like, you know, if I'm elderly, you know, and I have a partner, I would love to just like have a dog that like a border collie who like loves hiking, and it's like in the woods.
I love that.
In the woods somewhere.
So peaceful.
Yeah. Yeah, I have like a really hard time with like background noise, and I get woken up really easily in the city and in Boston and even the suburbs. Like I honestly, you know, I mean maybe if there's a loud lark, you know, my plans will be dashed, but
there's gonna be a woodpecker.
There's gonna be a woodpecker. You know?
Oh my God, watch. Yeah, you move all the way there. You're just like, fuck.
That was what happened in LA. We were like, we kept joking around in Boston because we had construction underneath our apartment in Boston, so we would be woken up to like the floors rattling. And so we were like, when we moved to LA, like the streets will be paved with gold, and there will be no construction. And then across the street from us, there's been historically protected construction, which means that it's taken 2 years.
What does that mean? Like the
building
that
they couldn't tear it down and put it back up. They had to like remove, like they had to Theseus's ship the thing, where they had to leave certain things but take out other things, like with precision.
They had to leave like the facade and the windows and everything.
So that's just took a while. No,
it's still going on.
It's still going on.
Yeah,
still going.
Dang, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know. That's all I have to say about that.
This is a soft, sensitive topic.
That sounds lovely though. Those are all very nice visions of
I
our
know.
elderly
Yeah,
years.
I want to have a little cafe too. Like I want to play poker with my buddies, and I've been watching the Great British Bake Off for the first time, and like I just love all like the wholesome old folks who just like love making like cake.
Just like
maybe I'll get into baking.
Life slows down, like the thought of just life slowing down, where like you get to pick how you want to fill your day.
Well, because I can't.
It's so nice.
I'm really bad at cooking and baking and stuff because I get distracted really easily, and you know, if I'm in an environment where I don't need to be checking my phone or I
go off the grid,
you know, whatever. If I'm just like, if I'm there and what I have to do, like the only thing I have to do for the next hour and a half is like bake a cake that looks like Freddie Mercury.
There's these. wait, rewind.
It was a challenge in the Great British Bake Off.
There's this baking show though, or like this something show called Nailed It. Have you seen
yes.
when you said I want to make a cake like Freddie Mercury, I just pictured like
a really bad one.
Like some of the cakes are like really scary looking.
Yeah.
Jess really wants to sign me up for one of those like I can't cook shows.
Oh, you should. It's
That'd be really
I
funny.
love
A lot
that
of
show. And the
fun.
host, what's her name? Nicole Byer or something.
no
She's
idea.
so funny.
My dream,
You
by the
should.
way, is to be on some random ass game show. Like I would love to just like we have a friend who's our dungeon master, and he's a great folk artist. I'll show you his stuff. He's like awesome. For D&D.
It's a sex thing.
No, stop.
Oh.
It's for
I was like,
D&D.
I don't know what
it's
that
the
means.
opposite of a sex thing. It's Dungeons and Dragons.
Our friend, he's a dungeon master.
Yeah. he's a dominatrix. No, he's just like, and he's a great songwriter and like a folk guy. And then randomly he's like won 3 rounds of Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Like he just
I love how random that is.
he just has that.
Wait, did he win a lot of money?
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
Cool.
Like you can that's public info.
It is public info, yeah. You can
Because
see the number if
He
you
won it
want.
on the show. I don't know what it is after taxes, but
Yeah.
you can figure out taxes. Yeah.
Oh yeah, in Canada, if you win something, you don't have to pay any tax. But here, you have to pay 50%. So if you win the lotto, all the money's yours. If you
What?
win money on a show, it's all yours.
In Canada?
Yeah,
Guess we're going on Canadian Jeopardy.
Get
Yeah.
on Canadian Jeopardy.
yeah.
It's called Sorry.
Sorry you didn't get that right.
Sorry you didn't get that right.
Sorry, try again next time.
It's just sorry with the exclamation point because Jeopardy's got the exclamation
I
point.
love that.
Sorry.
Isn't that the board game?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, there's
There's a game called Sorry. Yeah.
Next question in the question round. What is your phone background?
It's just when last time I was in LA, it's like a picture of what is it? Oh my god, I'm so stupid. The Getty Center. No, what's that big thing?
The Griffith
the
Derby.
Derby Derby.
No, the other one.
The Getty Villa? No.
Wait, can I see it?
No,
Can I
on
see
the
it?
405. You can't see it when the Getty Center on the 405. The big. Oh, guys, this is so embarrassing.
I've never been there, but I think I know what you mean.
The graveyard?
No.
No, it's the Getty. It's the Getty, right?
The Getty
Museum.
The gas
Museum.
station?
Oh my god, it's like the Getty Museum.
Yeah.
That's what it's called,
Is
right?
that the modern one or the one with all the Roman stuff?
Modern.
There's just two.
And there's like a beautiful garden.
Yeah, I think that's the Getty Museum.
Yeah.
There's the Getty Museum and the Getty Villa.
Fuck.
The Getty Villa's near Malibu.
The Getty
so
Villa's
not
near
that,
Malibu. It's
the
not
other
that
one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I've
I
actually
just
never been there either.
last time I was here, I took this picture and it's just really calm and
Yeah.
peaceful.
That's very.
So that's what my phone background is. That
I like
was
that.
so stressful.
Next question. Other than canoeing, do you have any non-musical hobbies?
I really like bike riding.
Wait, me too.
I love I need to get a bike here actually. But when I was living with my parents this past year, whenever I was just feeling down, I just grab my bike and just ride like hour, 2 hours.
I try to bike for an hour or two a day. If you get a bike out here, let's do a trail or something.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
I'd love that. Yeah, I just I don't know. And there were so many nice trails by my parents' house where especially during fall, I love that. And I love playing soccer. I want to get back into soccer. I want to join a women's league here.
Ooh.
I used to be
Oh, we call it football
Obsessed.
here.
No, you don't.
Wait a second.
Lies. Liza Minnelli, lies.
The great game.
Yeah, I liked it. I was goalie for a while and I was, what's it called? Striker. I played striker.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so those two, off the top of my head.
Okay, very important question for you.
Super important question. Probably the most important question on the podcast.
Probably the most important question you'll ever be asked in your life. Would you be a pirate?
Arr.
Yes,
Nice.
I would.
Another one for Team Pirate.
Can I ask what is that question? It was
Oh,
from
you're
the
not
pack?
allowed. You're not allowed.
I'm not allowed
ask
to know.
that.
It's just
Yeah.
a yes or no.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to ask questions back to
Yeah,
us.
they're not allowed to ask
That's
questions
not the
back.
question.
Oh
That's
my
not
God.
the question.
Okay,
round.
yeah, I'd
We're
be a
asking the
pirate.
questions
We're asking
here,
the questions
but-
here.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We've actually never been asked that. 60 plus episodes and
I've heard you guys have asked that before, right?
Yeah,
Yes, every
yeah, I've
episode,
heard
yeah.
that. But I just want to know why is that a question? But if there's no answer, I can't know. I totally
there's
respect
too much
that.
of an answer.
Okay, gotcha.
No, but I think it brings up interesting questions about moral alignment and how you feel about breaking the law, if it's for potentially a good cause, but even existing outside of an established system. and like the potential to have to hurt people to achieve your goal, even if you don't want to.
Wait.
Okay, I'm gonna back it up here for a second, my friend. I love you so much. These questions, when we first started the podcast, were a blend of like things that I kind of just like thought of and things that like I found on, if you Google great questions to ask in an interview or like whatever. Like I just sort of like Reddit and Tumblr and whatever, like compiled a bunch of questions and then we sort of culled through them. And we've had a bunch of different questions over the podcast, but like if the answers kind of sucked, we would just kind of like consistently, we would just sort of call them out. So these are the ones that have stayed. And to that end, the pirate question, despite being kind of fun and silly, and I got to make a little fun little sound effect for it, has always yielded an interesting answer because I think that historically with what piracy was a kind of revolution against established systems.
Yeah.
And I think that being in music, what's so interesting about our industry specifically is that there are plenty of people who like and benefit from established systems, your labels, your publishers, all that stuff. And that in some ways there's not a ton of moral wrong there, or no more moral wrong than anything else in the 21st century. But on the other side, there is the DIY space, there is the innovators or the people who put in some of the harder work or don't necessarily get to be on the right side of advantage. Who are a little bit more pirate-esque.
This isn't you explaining the question. This is just you just advocating for everyone to answer yes to this question as if that's the only valid answer.
No.
I think I liked it. What I like about it is that I think it's interesting and there's not a clear yes or no answer.
No, that's why it took me a second. But I think, yeah, this is a fucked question.
I think both answers are valid.
This right here, this is why you guys need to always keep this question.
That's what I think.
I think it's always interesting.
It's a fucking deep question.
It's a deep ass question,
and it's very deceiving.
Even though it's really funny.
Yeah,
and it's just so fucking random. Everything about it is just it's literally a perfect question.
Well, it's also about our understandings of pop culture.
Yeah.
Like are you thinking about like the murderous evil pirates of the Pirates of the Caribbean, or are you thinking of like the historical pirates who were more sort of based in like branding and PR? Like there's all kinds of layers to the question. But ultimately I will say this on the record, I don't think there's a right answer to this question. I joke to say that I love that, like, when we have somebody on Team Pirate, but I think that a lot of it is about your comfort with discomfort.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to do things. In a lot of ways, we want to do things by the book.
Yeah.
Out of everyone you ask, majority of people want to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for the most part. For the most part, people are like, yeah, I'd be a pirate. And then we get into the nuance of it a little bit, but people tend to say yes to this
But it leans like 75-25. Like if it was 100% one way or even 90% one way, I don't think we would keep the question. I think it's the fact that when people do say they want to be a pirate, it is for the most interesting reasons.
Yeah.
That have a lot to do, again, with comfort and discomfort and what we advocate for. Like what fights do we want to pick?
Yeah.
I think the difference between Noah and I, and one of the things I respect the most about our relationship, is that I'm ready to pick a fight with everybody, and Noah is ready to like let things go. and I think that there isn't a right answer to either.
Right.
Like I think that we help sort of balance out so that nobody takes advantage of us, but also that we're not like trying to burn
bridges unnecessarily
or burn down the house we're living in.
Right.
Totally.
There's your answer. Aren't you glad you asked?
Moly. Okay, now I know.
Arr.
Do you have any tattoos? If so, what was your first?
No tattoos.
Do you want one?
I like the idea of like getting one day, but I'm too indecisive.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if I got one, whatever it would be, wherever, the next day I'd be like, well, fuck, should I have gotten it on the other leg? Or like I just it's too much. Someone with anxiety, it's just the idea of making a decision. No, I'd rather just like if I were to get a tat, I would want it to be meaningful.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I would like my family's names. I don't need them on my foot or something. I don't know.
Well, I forgot my family's names all the time, so I got to memento
people
them.
people who get it tatted, it's like, oh yeah, right, my sister's name, or oh yeah, she was born in this
I should
date.
get like SAT question answers just
See,
so I always
that's,
have them.
That's smart. Yeah.
For when you take the SAT.
when I take the SAT again. Yeah, exactly.
I look, I'm like, oh yes.
When you take it, yeah.
They look, they're like, oh yes, mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first concert you ever attended?
Jonas Brothers.
Hell yeah.
Nice. That's a really good one. Was it
Yeah.
a good show?
It was great. I was in 8th grade and my sister was in 9th grade. And I think our parents got us the tickets for our birthday. Our birthdays are 6 days apart. She's a year and 6 days older. So every year it's like, here's your present, done.
Right.
Easy.
And we went to the concert and we had pretty shitty seats and we were both like, okay, it's fine. And then for some reason, I don't remember why, but one of the ushers came and was like, I don't know if we were in someone else's seats or they had double booked the seats that we had gotten, but they were just like, come with us. And they took us to the standing section.
Oh, wow.
And they were just like, are you guys cool with being here? And we're just like, fuck yeah. And like, it was great. It was
That's
fun.
awesome.
It was good.
You should cover the year 3000. I'm just like imagining it. I think it would sound very good.
Like a slowed down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
Maybe I
little
will.
piano, a little guitar,
Maybe
finger
I
picked
will.
guitar. Yeah.
Can you recommend our listeners in Listenerland a movie, a book, and a TV show?
Okay, movie. I don't know why this came to my brain first, but my favorite movie of all time is Bend It Like Beckham.
Nice.
So I just think if you haven't
Because
seen
of
that,
the soccer.
yeah, the soccer, the soundtrack is just amazing.
Right.
Like I love the whole soundtrack, and the acting's fucking great. I think the story is wonderful. It's like a perfect movie. So if you haven't seen that, I would say
I haven't seen
watch
that in years. I kind of want to rewatch it now.
It's
Thank you for
so
reminding me
good.
about
I
Bend It Like
watched it.
Beckham.
I watched it last year when we were in quarantine. And I was like, this is such a good movie. Because some movies from your childhood, you think of them nicely, and then when you watch them again as adults, it's like not the same.
Yeah.
That one was like better.
For some
Right.
reason,
Better.
I, like that movie. Every time I try to like access that movie, I just get scenes from She's the Man.
the other soccer movie.
The other soccer
there was
movie.
that, Kicking and Screaming. There were a bunch of
Right,
soccer
right.
movies for a while.
That's fun.
Book-
Hollywood.
Yeah.
If you could make it here.
Book. I forgot it at home, but I was reading, what's it called? The Lovely Bones, which
Oh.
people have read. So it's like, but so far it was
Child
good.
murder.
Yes.
Is it
Yeah,
about,
that was a
the
good
girl
book.
that gets killed, right?
Yes. I haven't finished it, so I don't know what happens, but I need to get it.
Oh,
But
she does
so
in
far,
the beginning. That's the.
that it starts
that's
off.
the-
She's
yeah.
dead, and she's like trying to work from,
Yeah.
what happened.
Okay.
Oh, hands down, best TV show ever, Ozark.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Like I was telling you guys before, I'm not a big TV person. I like my reality TV, and then I just don't watch TV that much. But Ozark is like the best show I've ever seen. Like perfect. You have to watch it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's been recommended many a time.
My
It's way better than Breaking Bad. It's so good.
my watch for this week is Midnight Mass is finally out. I am a
gotta watch that.
huge fan of Mike Flanagan. He did like The Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor, and he also did like Oculus and Doctor Sleep.
Hmm.
And I'm not a big fan of horror, but I love stylized horror. Like I love Jordan Peele's movies, and I loved Cabin in the Woods. Like I just love horror movies where yes, like it's a little bit scary, but there is such a distinct like creative element to it. That's not just about like the gore or the fears, but about like the actual like
Do
themes.
you like A Quiet Place? Did
Oh,
you like
loved
that?
A Quiet Place. Yeah, I didn't like A Quiet Place too.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
That was a good movie.
it's whispering because it's a quiet place.
Quiet Place. My sister was born deaf. She's deaf in both ears.
Oh, whoa.
So she was watching it and she thoroughly enjoyed it. She was just like, "Dang!"
Wait, I didn't know. So does she have an implant as well?
Yeah, she has cochlear implants.
Okay.
So she had her first one when she turned 6. She got her first implant, and then when she was 12, she got the other one on the other ear. When we were watching Bachelor, we were watching when Abigail came down,
Oh.
and she was just like, we both were just like so happy that she was on TV, because it's just
Mhm.
like, that's so refreshing to see, like, young girl, pretty much same situation, deaf in both ears. I think Abigail wears cochlears too,
Yeah.
and just like super just I don't
I mean,
know.
she's the best. I mean,
she's just like,
she's great on Paradise now too.
I know,
She got
yeah.
firsthand.
yeah, I loved it. So, anyways, we were
Wait,
watching A
that's
Quiet
really
Place, and we were
cool.
just like, dang. And I think the actress in Quiet Place, the young girl, is
Is
deaf.
yeah, she is deaf.
Yeah, so it's cool. Yeah.
What I love, what I think is really cool about A Quiet Place as a sound from a sound designer's perspective is like obviously there's so much sound, emphasis in the movie. Like it's so fun to watch a movie where sound is the consideration from pre-production. Like the script, they would write loud moments in like bigger letters. So you really like saw on the page like when something got like louder or like I just thought that was such a cool
that's really cool
little thing of because I'm so used to getting a call from a director like there's 5 days until the movie needs to be delivered and they didn't realize they needed a sound designer.
Dang.
So to have like
5 days.
so to have like pre-production sound design like in mind is so special.
That's dope.
It's very cool.
I love that.
All right, what are 3 thoughts you have at this very moment? Go.
I want iced coffee.
Nice.
Clouds. And I have a headache.
Nice.
Well, that'll do it.
That was great.
Which is why I want to.
Why you want the iced coffee?
That's literally the story of my life. Iced coffee.
Are you a
headaches.
caffeine addict like we are?
Yes.
We can make you some New Wave coffee, our sponsor for this
Anti-anxiety
episode.
coffee.
Yeah.
Dang. I need that.
It is actually coffee that doesn't give you anxiety. It's really lovely.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll catch myself being like, why is my chest so heavy? Why can't
And
I
you're
breathe?
like, I'm addicted to caffeine.
oh, I literally have not had one thing to eat, and all I have is coffee today.
Mhm.
I'll be
Why
like,
am I like that?
Why do I
just
have a
can't.
headache? It's like, oh,
Why
because
do I have
you're
a
severely
headache?
addicted to caffeine
Yeah.
and it's 2 p.m.
And you haven't had
anything
water,
yet.
and I like to pretend I'm like, why do I feel like that?
It's one of those days. I was wearing my sweater backwards for
Right.
half the day,
It is what it is. It looked good that way.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I put on my first T-shirt.
Oh,
This is the first T-shirt I've worn in about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Because I can't really put shirts on with the arm.
So what were you wearing before?
Button
Just like
downs.
button downs.
Oh, okay. I
Like,
see what
it's
you're
easier to
saying.
just, like-
He was walking
Oh,
around.
I see.
He was
Okay,
walking
yeah.
around shirtless. Yeah.
I've mostly been walking around
I was
shirtless
like,
because it's
aren't
like
you cold?
easier. But like
Dang.
last night I was like, I really want to wear a T-shirt. And my girlfriend helped me put this on.
Oh
And
my
now I'm wearing a
gosh.
T-shirt and it feels great.
I love that. Okay. Yes.
That's,
I
that's,
was
how,
at
that's how he
Steps.
wants to spend his elder years. Somebody else putting on a
Putting
t-shirt.
on a t-shirt.
Yeah, for real. Oh man. Lastly, what are you looking forward to?
What are you looking forward to?
I am very excited for this fresh start. I feel like I'm blessed to be able to have like a second shot at moving back here. Got my
Mhm.
visa. I feel like a lot of people with the pandemic, they had to move home and situations look different. So I'm excited that I got to come back and I'm starting over. So I'm excited for the future. I feel like I've changed a lot and grown in the last year. So I'm just like excited to not know what's happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's
just to
great.
kind of take things as they come.
Well, we are fans, and it's so nice to come from Boston out here, and that you're back here and finally on the podcast. So we'll keep listening. I'll keep calling
Yes,
after
call
listening
me.
and crying. This has been awesome, Julia. So thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. This was
Of
awesome.
course. We'll talk to you soon.
Sound of silence sings with you and I. Sound of silence sings with you and I. What if we chase it? I know we'll make it there. We can go places. We can go places where we watch the sun go. It fizzled out under the sea. And now we are alone, captured in serendipity.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Talking Lion.
We would like to thank New Wave, The Truffleist, and Isotope for their support of Talking Lion.
If you'd like to show your support, ask our guests your questions, talk to us on Discord, and get a shout out at the end of each episode, subscribe to our Patreon over at patreon.com/talkinglion.
Thank you for listening and see you next time.